United States, we are in the middle of a constitutional crisis and what appears to be a type of an authoritarian takeover, just to put it very plainly. And I do not like to be alarmist or hysterical. I like to stay grounded and calm, as all of you guys know, and I will continue to do that because I think it takes great power and strength to remain calm in the chaos. But we need to respond appropriately, and we need to call it out and talk about what it is. And until I know that I'm safe and that we are no longer in a constitutional crisis, I'm going to continue talking about this. And although I have lost a lot of subscribers lately, I have gained so many more. And there are almost 8,000 new subscribers here just in the last few weeks. So thank you for being here. And I appreciate that there are people that are concerned about what's happening. And I'm asking you, if you're watching this now and you are concerned, to please take action at the end of this video. I think there are a lot of ex-Christians from my generation who probably understand the feeling of being very confused and disoriented over the fact that we were raised in these evangelical Christian homes and we were fear-mongered with the Antichrist and the end times, the New World Order, and how there was this elite group of men, of leaders that wanted to basically erode our democracy. They wanted to erode our checks and balances. They wanted to consolidate power for themselves. And they were going to create this new world order where they rule with an authoritarian fist over everyone, especially the Christians. And they're just going to bring in the apocalypse. And it's happening. It's happening. Obama, he might be the Antichrist, and we need to be on guard. We need to vote against him because if he gets in office, he's going to bring about the end times. He's part of the Illuminati. He's part of the New World Order. Our dollar will no longer matter. We're all going to be paying in gold. Peanut butter will be $30 a jar. We won't be able to afford our groceries. These are the things that I was taught as a teenager before Obama took office. And I believed it because the people in my life, my family that I trusted, was telling me that this was happening. And that was very scary. And I know a lot of other people my age were fed those same fears. And then Obama became president. Those things didn't happen. Everything was fine. He had a big mess to clean up from the Bush era, but peanut butter didn't go beyond, I think, like $3.50 a jar at that time. In March of 2011, Donald Trump started pushing this conspiracy that Obama was not a U.S. citizen. On April 27th, 2011, the White House released the official birth certificate proving that Obama is an American citizen. He created a problem that did not exist. He said, we don't think this guy is actually a citizen. Then he pushed it out into the world. He forced them to comply and provide a birth certificate, which they did. And then he praised himself for fixing the problem that never existed in the first place. And it's really interesting to see how this set the tone for how the rest of his political career would go. And it was because of Trump's conspiracy theory, his lies, that my family and others started to believe that this threat of Obama was real. And this fused with what they were hearing in their churches about the apocalypse, the end times, how things are just getting so bad and Jesus is coming back any day. Those two things clashed, and it drove up these unnecessary fears about a very unreal problem. But the end times didn't happen. The Obama era came and went. Everything was fine. And I would think that my family and others that supported these theories and pushed them and made me afraid of them as a teenager would have gone, oh, I guess we were wrong. We shouldn't have done that. Sorry. Shifted their perspective and realized that, they got caught up in something, but maybe they can learn from it and move forward. But they didn't do that. They ended up doubling down, and they ended up allowing for this major stretching of the Overton window. And we're going to talk about the Overton window and what it is in just a minute. I think it's really important that we take a very close look at how far the Republicans have come from the Obama era and what they valued at that time. Because I don't think that The Republicans in my life, I don't think that they look, their current political ideology looks anything like it looked 15 years ago. And the things that they complained about Obama doing that he never did are the exact things they're supporting Trump doing right now. Something happened along the way that took them from point A to point Z. What they think about freedom, democracy, checks and balances, the role of the president, the role of the people, who should have power. They've just flipped. So what did they fear under Obama? Well, they feared executive orders, him being a dictator. They were worried about Obama expanding executive power and not allowing for the checks and balances that we've always valued in this country. Yep. Project 2025, which is a playbook that Trump is following step by step right now that we have been warning about for quite some time, is literally designed to give Trump more control over the government and to remove the checks and balances. And right now, JD Vance and Elon Musk are advocating for Trump to not have to even answer to judges. They're saying, hey guys, maybe Trump should be able to get to do whatever he wants and judges shouldn't get to have a say in that. He is above the law, is what they're trying to tell you. They were worried about the national debt and the fact that under Obama, we were accumulating debt. And then when Trump got in, he ballooned the deficit and crickets. They said the elites were going to be controlling the government. We can't have these rich, powerful men that are just sitting around in a circle, smoking their cigars, controlling all of us. Project 2025 is backed by some of the richest men in America. Trump currently has the richest man in the entire world. In the entire world is more money than anyone else in the world, rummaging through all of our federal departments right now without congressional oversight. And not only without congressional oversight, but actually locking members of Congress out and not allowing them in. At Trump's inauguration, he had a gaggle of billionaires sitting behind him, supporting him, excited about what he was doing because they had contributed to his campaign, and those men are worth over $1 trillion. I can't wrap my head around $1 billion. So we went from rich, wealthy, elite are bad, we shouldn't be controlling our government and consolidating power, to now we like these men. We love Elon Musk. We love Bezos. We love Zuckerberg. Isn't it great that these successful men in business are rallying around the greatest president? They were very concerned about the Constitution during the Obama administration, always talking about how everything he did was unconstitutional. We have a constitution. We have law and order. Congress has power, they said. I now have people in my comments that are arguing that we should ignore Congress, that Congress is bad, that Trump should have power over them, and maybe we just need to drain them all out. And they're not coming up with these talking points on their own. They're getting it from the very people that 10 years ago were saying, we need to protect Congress's powers. And we need to make sure that the executive branch doesn't go power hungry. I mean, you can just look through some old Fox News articles from the Obama era. Obama violating Constitution, but little can be done about it. They say Republicans think the president abused the government's separation of powers by using the executive orders to sidestep Congress. The president knows this is wrong, said Lee, among the most outspoken Obamacare critics. What gives him the ability to rewrite the law? It's really interesting that at the end of one of these articles where they're complaining about the overreach and the executive orders, it literally says Obama has used executive orders less than modern U.S. presidents, 167 times so far compared to 238 for President Carter and 256 for President Reagan. GOP Democrats spar over legality of executive orders as lawsuit begins. We have a president who feels completely unrestrained by the Constitution of America. That was Greg Abbott, by the way. Finally, we still have a Constitution in America. Under the Constitution, Congress writes the laws. Obama administration tests constitutional power. Obama's year of action by any means necessary. Constitution be damned. Be careful, when you weaken the law today, you weaken it forever. Is Obama a president or a king playing with constitutional fire? They claim to fear a dictator, feared a king. They want law and order. They want the president to obey Congress because they understand the power that Congress is supposed to hold. They want the president to obey the Constitution. Until now, what happened? I think the Overton window has shifted. I think our level of tolerance has expanded. What we find to be normal and acceptable now was not 10, 15 years ago. So what is the Overton window? The Overton window is a range of subjects and arguments politically acceptable to the mainstream population at any given time. It is also known as the window of discourse. The window frames the range of policies that a politician may recommend without appearing too extreme to gain or keep public office given the climate of public opinion at that particular time. The Overton window is an approach to identifying the ideas that define the spectrum of acceptability of governmental policies. The premise of the concept of Overton defined that was that politicians typically act freely only within a window as seen acceptable. The most common misconception is that lawmakers, Congress, themselves are in the business of shifting the Overton window. That is absolutely false, according to Lemon, who coined the term. Lawmakers are actually in the business of detecting where the window is and then moving to be in accordance with it. A really easy way for me to understand the Overton window and exactly how it works, especially on the human brain, is to rely on my own experience in therapy with my own level of tolerance. When I first started seeing my therapist for symptoms of PTSD, I was in a session and I was telling her a story that was very traumatic for me. And as I started telling it and kind of reliving it in my mind, my body tensed up, my shoulders went up to my ears, I got really tense and tight. I started to shake and I was trying to get through my words, but like my throat was closing up, and I felt like I was gradually becoming very panicked. And my therapist stopped me and said, "Hey, we're going to take a break. You are beyond your level of tolerance, so we need to kind of bring you back down to your window." I did some breathing, we did some exercises, and we got me back to a place where I was calm and not uptight, not panicked. And what's happening when your body is feeling unsafe in a situation? You are beyond your level of tolerance, and so the body starts to react. It can't handle it. It feels unsafe. I had to kind of stretch my level of tolerance little by little. In society at any given time, we all accept certain things as normal. Some things are a little bit radical. Some things are unthinkable, like how could we ever do that? So political leaders and people who are involved in what political leaders do, like corporations, people who lobby, they know that they want certain things accomplished. But in order to accomplish very extreme things, they have to introduce us to these concepts little by little. They have to acclimate us and have us normalize these things so they can eventually get there. They can't just introduce it all at once. And I believe that's what's been happening since Trump came on scene and decided he was going to start disrupting the political process. And I really want to talk about how we saw this play out, because we had Trump in 2016 who was running as an outsider. That's what people liked about him. I always heard he's not a politician, and that's what I like about him. He's different. Now, never mind that he was a billionaire who had a lot of lawsuits and shady business practices and had filed for bankruptcy many times, but regardless, they felt like he was the one to get the job done because he wasn't a politician and because he didn't want the power that all these other politicians in power wanted. But fast forward, and we're all looking at what's happening. We're listening to the things Trump is saying, and we're like, I think this guy wants a lot of power. I think he's going to try to stay in power even if he gets voted out. And they said, no way, that's crazy. Trump is going to obey the law. He's going to obey the vote. And if you guys vote him out, then, there will be a peaceful transfer of power. And then he lost a fair and free election, and this happened.
Still taking metal, sharpened objects, missiles, to include bottles and rocks, and hand-thrown chemical-grade fireworks. If I give this up, they're going to have to run Dexter.
And I think a lot of us thought that this would be the end of MAGA, the end of an era, and that finally his supporters would wake up and realize that what we've been saying all along was going to happen, did happen. And now can you recognize that and get on board? But they didn't. They doubled down and they claimed election fraud. And even though Trump never could produce any evidence to suggest his claims of widespread voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election, his supporters still believed that there was fraud because he pushed the idea. And once he started saying it, bringing it up, pushing it out there, and then people started going, you know what, maybe it was stolen. Yeah, maybe there wasn't a free and fair election. And it didn't matter the facts. It didn't matter the fact that Trump was saying it without providing any evidence of it. He was saying it and it was being put out there. The conversation was started and now people are starting to shift their idea of what is acceptable. Before it's, oh no, we have fair elections and whatever happens, Trump will respect it. Then afterwards, it's, I don't know if I really respect this. I don't think the process was legit. Maybe he has a point. And now we are broadening our window. We're opening the window. And now in 2024, many of us were warning people about Project 2025. Project 2025 is a political initiative to reshape the federal government of the United States and remove checks on executive power in favor of right-wing policies. It was published in April 2023 by the Heritage Foundation in anticipation of Donald Trump winning. I've talked about the Heritage Foundation on this channel and my Christian Nationalist Deep Dive, and Paul Weyrich, the founder of it.
Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome. Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
This has been put out every year since Reagan. They've been trying to do this, and they really pushed it for 2025. They believed that they could elect Donald Trump and that as soon as he got into power, that they would be able to basically give him this plan they've already created and he would enact it. And the Heritage Foundation will claim that Project 2025 was made to give power back to the people, but it doesn't really have that plan at all. Instead, it's basically a plan to install a dictator, to consolidate power to the president, to ignore the courts, to issue executive orders, and to basically make Trump king. I posted a video in July of last year asking my viewers to please inform themselves about Project 2025. I got comments like, Project 2025 is a joke. It's not going to happen. The Heritage Foundation isn't a government agency. They've been putting out a project like this every presidential election. The left and right are fearmongers. I just Googled it and it doesn't sound scary at all unless you're a liberal crybaby. Project 2025 will never be implemented, so stop trying to scare people over nothing. And so the tone wasn't, hey, we like Project 2025, and if he does it, then we'll be happy about it. The tone is, hey, we read this and it's ridiculous that you think this is going to happen. And they thought it was ridiculous because it was a ridiculous document. And then you have Donald Trump on July 5th, 2024. I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. Now, I gotta be honest. If you were to just eliminate every other bit of information in this video and literally just read this tweet, I would have concerns about what he's saying. So you don't know anything about it. He says, I know nothing about it. I don't know who's behind it. And I disagree with some of it. Some of it's ridiculous and abysmal. If you know nothing about it, how do you know you disagree with some of it and that it is ridiculous and abysmal? He didn't say, I know some about it. He said, I know nothing about it, but I also don't agree with it. I honestly have a really difficult time understanding how I even need to be making this video right now and people didn't read that tweet and go, wait a minute. He even had his daughter Tiffany say a few points to reiterate as you head to the voting booth. Project 2025 is not my father's plan. He has not read it and does not endorse it. Now, if you are someone who has decided that you love Trump, you trust Trump, and you don't need to investigate him or hold him accountable or fact check him, then, he has told you what he's told you and that's that. But I don't just buy whatever people tell me. I go and look it up for myself. And it doesn't take long to see what's been actually happening. It's been out in the open. This is not a conspiracy. Like, this has been out in the open. They've been saying it for a long time. We've been telling you that they've been saying it. And so many people have been looking at us and saying, you are absolutely crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. In 2018, the Heritage Foundation literally bragged about how influential they were in implementing their policies in the Trump presidency the first time around. 1 year after taking office, President Donald Trump and his administration have embraced nearly 2/3 of the policy recommendations from the Heritage Foundation's mandate for leadership. The mandate for leadership is Project 2025. It's just that every election cycle, they change the year. It's always the mandate for leadership. So when Trump was telling you last year, I've never heard of this, I don't know who's behind it, I've never read it, he literally implemented a lot of the previous mandates policies in his first term, and he worked directly with the Heritage Foundation, who created Project 2025, to implement it. In 2022, he spoke at the Heritage Foundation and he praised them for their mandate.
The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do.
The president of the Heritage Foundation at that time said, I personally have talked to President Trump about Project 2025 because my role in the project has been to make sure all of the candidates who have responded to our offer for a briefing on Project 2025 get one from me. This is Donald Trump and Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation at that time in 2022, who were on a 45-minute flight together before Trump was praising the mandate of Project 2025.
In spite of all this nonsense from the left, we are going to win. We're in the process of taking this country back. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
So without any conspiracy and without any bias against Trump, I can see the series of events, the sequence of events that Trump worked with the Heritage Foundation to enact policies from their previous mandate in 2022 during his first term. They bragged about how much they got done with President in his first term. He flew on a plane with them. He talked about Project 2025 with them. He went to a conference and he praised Project 2025 and how great it was going to be for our country. And then last year, he lied to every single American and said, I do not know who they are. I've never met them. I've never read this. I know nothing about it. This is not what I'm doing. Trump recently installed Russell Vogt in his cabinet, and Russell Vogt is a main architect of Project 2025. In fact, there was a video taken by an undercover journalist and an undercover actor working with the British nonprofit Center for Climate Reporting. They published this video last year. It is publicly available for you to Google. It is an undercover video taken of them talking to Russell Vogt about Project 2025 and if Trump was involved with it and what they plan to do. And he confirmed that he's working with Trump. They like the plan. They're going to implement the plan.
The campaign selected me to be the platform because of their views on my policy ideas, and they're not running from all of the negativity that I get from the press.
I see. So they haven't been spooked on you as a person, you don't think?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be their transition pick because then they have all these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
But no, the relationship is great.
The head of the Trump transition team has not yet been appointed, but Vogt says that no matter who is named, he'll be able to hand over his Project 2025 battle plans directly.
If it's someone like Stephen Miller or Bob Lighthizer, then all this stuff gets plugged right in. If it's not, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
But all of it will be designed for a theory of the case that President, if a battle plan is out there that will do what he wants, there are the people like me that have his trust that will be able to get it to him.
And so now that Trump is in office, his executive actions are aligning with Project 2025. He is actively shutting down federal agencies with the help of his unelected billionaire buddy, Elon Musk. He is following it step by step. And for some reason, all of the people before that were saying, that's a conspiracy, that's crazy, that's a joke, you're fear-mongering, are like, I don't see anything wrong. The Overton window has stretched, and it keeps on stretching. So how do they stretch the Overton window? How do they get from, I don't like this and Trump would never do it, to Trump is doing this and I like it and I want it to happen? Well, one is it's just a joke strategy. They make extreme ideas seem harmless by posing it as a joke. And so Trump says something radical, like, on day one, I'm going to be a dictator. The media, influencers, people online, we get on and we say, hey, he's saying he wants to be a dictator. He's stating this. His supporters go, it's just a joke. Come on. He's just kidding. He doesn't really mean it. Gosh, you guys are being so ridiculous. You're so hysterical. And then he keeps saying it. He says, oh, you might not have to vote after this. Hey, if you vote for me now, you won't have to vote again. We got this in the bag.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians.
Maybe we'll give it another term. Maybe another. Who knows? And everybody in the crowd laughs. Ha ha ha. Trump, you're so funny. And now Republicans are trying to introduce bills that would give him a 3rd term. So it starts as a joke. People are laughing it off. It's not a big deal. It's not serious. And then over time, the conversation keeps going. People start going, well, wait a minute. Actually, another way is the gradual introduction of extremist policies and extremist ideas. Trump ran on a campaign saying he was going to end birthright citizenship. And a lot of people were very confused about that. They didn't like it. And they said, oh, well, he wants to do that, but only with Congress's support. He's got to get Congress to agree with it. And they're probably not going to agree with it. So we don't need to worry about that. Well, fast forward, Trump signs his executive order to end birthright citizenship. But when he does it, everybody says, yeah, you know what? Maybe he should do this. I agree with Trump. It's just a way to very gradually shift people into one direction to accept something that they wouldn't have accepted before. Another tactic they use is called flooding the zone. Steve Bannon has actually talked about this tactic of just feeding the media a whole bunch of stuff, making it chaotic so that nobody really knows what's going on, and you pull one over on the media. Except for the media is supposed to be informing the people, so what you're really doing is pulling one over on the people by confusing them and offering so much information that they can't keep up. But part of this is latching on to certain things and pushing them out there over and over and over again and getting people to keep talking about it, keep the conversation going. Because as long as media is reporting on it, you're pushing it out there. Political leaders are talking about it, so are Americans, and they're engaging in conversation. Really, they're engaging in arguing. In 2016, Trump claimed the election was rigged, and a lot of people were like, hold on, Trump. I don't know about that. Let's count the votes and see. Let's just make sure. They count the votes. Trump lost. That's what happened. But then Trump starts saying, stop the steal. They stole it. It was rigged. And they're pushing it out there over and over and over, flooding the zone with this stop the steal. It was rigged. Putting out fake news stories about it. Manipulative news stories that don't give you the full picture but sway you in one way. People are arguing about it, and then some people are starting to accept it as normal, and then people are starting to latch on to the idea, and now all of his base is like, yeah, stop the steal, it was rigged. And now there are everyday average people that probably didn't even follow much of the news that think maybe the election was rigged, maybe it was stolen. In 2016, Trump was always talking about fake news and railing against the media. You can't trust journalists. You can't trust the media. But because they were reporting things that Trump was doing that reflected negatively on him, not because they were reporting negatively on him, but because he was doing things that the American public wouldn't like. When they reported on it, he got mad and he rallied against them, and he convinced his base to be angry at the press. They decided to completely disregard all media. All media is bad. Independent journalists, big media corporations, anyone reporting on it at all. Me getting on here and sharing information straight from, straight from Fox in my last video, and people are like, I don't believe it. Don't believe the media. So it started with Trump saying, I don't like the media. They're bad. They're reporting against me. Continuing to say it until people just no longer trusted any media at all, stopped listening to the news, and now just go along with whatever Trump says because they've decided they trust him the most. They also use a false equivalence or a both sides strategy. It's why I really, really don't like it when people say, I don't like politics because both sides are the same. It's not the same. It doesn't work that way. And it is so dangerous for democracy. You can agree that there are people on both sides of the fence that suck. You can agree that there is corruption on both sides all throughout our government. That's undeniable. But you can recognize that while also recognizing that both sides are not, in fact, the exact same, and that both sides of a debate are the exact same. They can push a radical position and frame it as a debate that just has two opinions, and then they normalize radical ideas and language. They no longer believe in checks and balances. They no longer believe in power to the people. They no longer believe that we need to restrict government overreach and executive power. Now they cheer on the richest elites as they seize power. Now they want a dictator as long as it is Trump. The same people who were fearing big government overreach are now actively wanting to take Congress's power because they think Congress is just a group of people who do whatever they want, when really Congress is elected by you and me. They are our voice. Congress is our voice. And without them, we don't have a voice in the executive branch. You don't get to say that you don't like what Trump is doing. So the moment Trump does something you don't like, if you eliminate Congress, you bypass democracy, you don't get to tell him. If Trump decides to team up with someone who is a Catholic, and they decide that Baptists aren't following the right Christianity, and we need to get rid of these godless Baptists out of the country, if you get rid of Congress and you decide that Trump has all the power, then what happens when they start enacting policies that are discriminatory against Baptists? And they lose their voice and their ability to fight for their religious freedom because they gave all of the power to the executive branch because they trusted it rather than working to make sure that they vote in people in Congress that they actually do trust. We were conditioned over time to accept authoritarianism, and a lot of people have been slowly acclimating themselves to it. And it is very disorienting to see the very people that were arguing against all of this overreach and all of these threats of power consolidation have really not slowly, it happened very quickly, I feel like, but little by little, they have come to support the very things that they spoke out against before, the things they fought against. And it makes me wonder if they actually had values or if they only cared about party. They cared about what their party does. And as long as their red guy is in office, that's all that matters. And they don't care about their values, and they'll override their values. They will change what they think about how government should be run if Trump wants it that way. And everybody else is bad and evil. Everybody else is trying to pull one over on them. Me, Congress, other world leaders that are very concerned about what's happening right now. It's gotten to the point where anyone who opposes what Trump is doing, even if they are a Republican, even if they're not a liberal, they are the enemy. They are bad. Media is bad. American citizens who aren't Republicans are bad. Everybody else in the world is bad. Checks and balances are bad. Democracy is bad. The system we have in place is bad. All of our federal departments are bad. All of the federal employees are bad. So the only good one left is Trump, and whoever Trump decides is good. That's what I see now, because I don't see them holding their values. I see them shifting their values. I see them saying, you're crazy to think that he's going to do X, Y, Z. Then he gets in office and he does X, Y, Z, and they go, I like that. They don't have integrity for their values anymore. They don't have values. They have an authoritarian dictator who is telling them, I know what's best. I'm always right. I'm the only person who can fix it. And everyone else is wrong, no matter what you see and hear. And let me lie to you. Let me give you bad information. Let me manipulate you and exploit you. Let me override democracy. Let me install my billionaire friend who has government contracts and no congressional oversight to do whatever he wants with all federal departments that you pay your taxes to. Let me do anything I want because I'm the best. I'm the guy you trust. And it's really important we hold our leaders accountable, but unfortunately, those who installed Trump are not holding him accountable and are just going along with whatever he says because he has worked he hasn't worked so hard. The people around him have worked so hard to stretch the window of what is acceptable, to introduce you to new ideas, not through a philosophical means to help you grow as a society and to better the world. That's not why they're shifting the Overton window. They're doing it because they have a plan. They have things they want to do. They want to make a lot of money and have a lot of power, and they want to consolidate all that power. They don't want oversight. They don't want regulations. They don't want you, an American, telling them what they can do with this country and with your laws. They don't want you doing that. They don't want your voice in how things go. They want to be able to do whatever they want without you having a voice. And they pose it as, oh, we're draining the swamp. We're getting rid of these terrible people in Congress who don't care about you. But when they say that Congress is so bad, we should get rid of Congress, what they're really saying is we should get rid of you and your voice. And for some reason, so many people are just accepting that. The Overton window has shifted so much that they went from we need checks and balances because they are essential to we want a dictator. They didn't think for themselves. They let conservative media, talking heads, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, and Donald Trump slowly shift their beliefs. And now they are cheering on the dismantling of democracy. They are cheering on a king. And I think that it's really important that we stop fighting them and arguing with them and saying, I told you so. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. It is time to stop pointing our fingers and saying, you fascist, you ignorant person, you Nazi. Challenge what they're saying and what they're celebrating. Ask a lot of questions. Asking questions is the best way to get someone to think more about what they're saying. If you give them facts, if you make statements, if you feed them information or accuse them or shame them, they are not likely to think. They're likely to double down without thinking. But if you ask them questions, you put them in a position to face the claims they're making. And they will either realize that they don't actually have a good reason to suggest the things that they're suggesting or support the things they're supporting. But by asking these questions, you have to get them, you're getting them to face the fact that they might not actually have a reason for the claims that they're making. They might not have actually looked it up. And either that's going to upset their system. It's going to be beyond their level of tolerance and they won't feel safe in stepping outside of what they believe. So they'll just maintain their cognitive dissonance and just brush it off, whatever. Or they will realize they don't actually have a good answer and they might go look it up. They might go try to prove you wrong. They might try to confirm what they believe, and that's going to cause them to think more critically and go through the process of thinking more about what they're saying. I think we need to take a different approach. We're trying to have productive conversations so that we can educate, inform, and take action as quickly as possible. And so instead of fighting and pointing fingers and being angry, even though that's what we want to do, ask questions. Make them clarify what they're saying. Back them into a corner just by getting them to defend their position. Make them think. When you make people think, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not forcing anything on them. You don't have to call them names or enforce your values or anything. Like, ask them questions and get them to think. And hopefully that thinking process will spark something new. And I know a lot of people want to say, no, well, they're just stuck in their ways. I'm sorry, but it's not true, because I was one of those people. No, I wasn't MAGA. I left Christianity long before that, but I was one of those people that believed what I believed, and I was taught what I was taught, and I was conservative and I was Christian, and people asked me questions and I got to thinking and I changed my mind. So it's possible, and we need to stop acting like it isn't. We need to be talking about how what's acceptable has changed. We need to talk about values and what we want, what we hope for, what kind of government we want to run. And we need to be having conversations about how we achieve that. And for those who are cheering on the dismantling of democracy, who are cheering on bypassing democratic procedure, congressional oversight, we need to have those people tell us, what do you want? Do you want Trump to have full power? Do you want to have a voice? What is your solution here? And ask questions and talk to them, have productive conversations, and at least just get them to think. It's time to take action. It's time to be alert and aware and informing people about what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, and the dangers of dismantling democracy, the dangers of installing a king who gets to do whatever he wants, the dangers of consolidating power to the executive branch without congressional oversight, without your voice to determine if it's what you want as an American. It is time for us to control the narrative. It is time for us to speak out in kind and compassionate ways. If somebody is being mean and nasty and doesn't want to have a productive conversation with you, ignore them and move on. Don't fight with them. Don't engage in culture wars. If somebody wants to go off about trans bathroom issues, then say, you know what? I am an ally. I like trans people. I support their rights, but I'm not going to engage in culture wars with you regarding something that doesn't even affect you on a daily basis, that revolves around discriminating against less than 1% of the population, because that 1% of the population isn't the reason you can't afford eggs and housing and you can't find a job. So let's focus on the real issues. Let's talk about our values and let's find real, meaningful solutions to our problems, instead of saying we don't like Congress and they're overspending and we think that the budget is really bad. So the answer to that is not to make sure we get people in Congress that we trust and will honor our voice and values. The solution to that is to eliminate democracy, eliminate congressional oversight, and to give full executive power to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and let them do whatever they want. That's not the answer. We're going a little extreme. So I feel like we all need to balance it out. We need to talk about what we want. We need to talk about the Overton window and why people are shifting their values, why they're accepting things that were not acceptable before. Why are they accepting violations of the Constitution? Why are they accepting that Donald Trump wants to be a dictator? Why are they accepting that Donald Trump lied to them about his plan for the United States, about Project 2025, and now he is installing members who built it? And he has been actively implementing its policies and has praised it and lied that that's not what he was doing, and now it's what he's doing. And so you have to ask these people that support it, hey, did you like the idea of Project 2025 before Trump took office? And now that he's implementing it, do you want him to continue doing this, or do you want to have a voice? And do you want to call your representative and tell them, hey, tell Trump to stop doing this? This is not what I wanted. I want checks and balances. I want a democratic process. I want my representatives to oversee and have a voice. And Donald Trump can do whatever he wants within his power in the executive branch. But the moment they start saying that Congress doesn't matter, that judges don't matter, and that Donald Trump can do whatever he wants without any consequences to those actions, that is a very dangerous thing. And I wouldn't want it for Obama. I wouldn't want it for Biden. I wouldn't want it for Kamala. I wouldn't want it for anyone. I wouldn't want to have that kind of power. Whoever seeks that kind of power is the person that shouldn't have it. And remember that, please. And please consider your fellow Americans. Consider productive conversations and how we can move forward in a very smart way, in a way that promotes peace and unity and compassion. And if you're not ready to do that, I'm not interested in working with you, and you can go your own way and do your own work. I have had to block a lot of people on the left. I know a lot of people think this is an echo chamber. I have been blocking people who hold my same values, on my same side, fighting for the same thing I am, because they are being aggressive in the comments. They're being rude to people who are sharing their opinion from the right, who aren't being unkind, and they're getting mad at me for promoting peace and unity because they just want to fight. And if you just want to fight, this channel is not for you and my message is not for you. But for those who are concerned, for those who want democracy, for those who want freedom and want a voice in how their government runs, it's time to take action. It's time to call your representatives. I will put some links in the description of some things you can do, some actions you can take right this second. Call your representatives. Tell them this is not America. This is not what we stand for, and we will resist it every step of the way. Do not lose hope. I have a lot more I want to say. I've been writing nonstop, thinking nonstop, and I have a feeling I'll be putting a lot of videos out in the next week, couple weeks, months, years. I don't know. I really don't know. But until this crisis is over, until I know that we are safe from authoritarian rule and that Elon Musk isn't just rummaging around in all of our departments, shutting them down and doing whatever he wants with them and not giving us any transparency or answers about what's happening, I'm going to keep talking about it. And this channel just might look different for a little while because this is the most pressing matter right now. And all of us should be concerned. And all of us should be working together to make sure it doesn't happen. So I'll see you soon.